Okay. Hi, Sam. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Thank you for asking. Uh, it's funny. We are trying to understand if we are live or no yet. It may take us some time, but yeah. It's tricky. It's very tricky. So, where are you based?
I am based in Prague, in Czech Republic. Um,
Beautiful.
yeah, so far nice weather here.
Really?
Yeah, it's like 20 degrees, I believe, right now. So
Fantastic.
short season and short t-shirt season. Yeah.
Okay, I'm based in Valencia, and yesterday was a very horrifying day. We had a blackout, all around Spain, but also, as far as I understand, uh, Portugal and parts of Spain, France, and Andorra was affected.
Yeah, we heard it on the news here as well. Like it wasn't global incident. It seems like a global reported incident. Sorry. So yeah.
That's interesting. Okay, we survived. Yesterday was a little bit horrifying. As a Ukrainian, the certain thoughts, intrusive thoughts kicked in. But yeah, we did good. Listen, it's quite confusing with the live stream here. I would like to understand if you guys have joined us. Please give us shout out. Let us know where you're connecting from. That would be lovely, so we can understand that we actually have some. Okay. Yes, buddy. Hi, Kier. Glad to see you. Thank you so much for joining. I have. Yeah, so we have our long-standing friend Kier Demidov from One Up Games joining us. Someone else, let us know where you're joining from, and we will start in a couple of minutes. Yeah, it's also tricky because it's lagging a bit. It's like real time, but not real time. This is funny because when you start speaking, yeah, fantastic. Okay, there we go. Vortex Valencia is here. Thomas, thank you so much for joining as well. Yeah. Um, yeah, so it looks, there we go. Joseph, thank you for joining. Okay, we have Pavel from Prague. Okay. Things are starting to pick it up. That's good. I'm glad to hear and to know that you folks don't have any blackout that we did yesterday. Luckily, we didn't schedule it for yesterday. That was
Yeah, I would have to take over the whole thing then.
I don't know. That was pretty scary, for everyone out here. I guess. Okay, folks. Portugal. There we go. Arthur, how was you yesterday? You enjoyed the blackout yesterday. I'm glad to hear you managed to enjoy it, buddy. I did not. Hello, David. Okay. Yeah. Okay, folks. I feel like audience is, step by step getting here. Let us slowly kick in and, start with introduction and what to expect today. But heads up, it's not going to be like a webinar where we're going to be just talking, but Sam is actually a professional who can show you how to do things. Yeah, I'm also a BigQuery professional, not good as Sam, but happy, to onboard you on cost and size, how to manage this, some security questions, and an overall capabilities of Google BigQuery ML. Yeah, thank you so much for joining. And moving to the presentation. Sorry. Okay, there we go. So I hope you all see the presser right now. And we're going to be talking how, start from SQL into ML and AI, and what to do with the Vertex AI for Google BigQuery users. First of all, there are two rules about this webinar. First, if you have question, you just shoot it over in chat, and we're gonna be taking questions as we go. And second, what is going to be the second rule, Sam? I think I had something in mind, but I forgot.
I don't know, something along the lines that no question is a bad question.
I mean, like, this is a boring one.
Yeah.
I guess if you have any questions left, feel free to connect with us afterwards. And we also, why we partner with Sam is actually because we also partnered for Google Cloud Summit in Prague, which is taking place on 27th of May. So if you are planning to be there, we are happy to meet in person and kind of have a chat, coffee, or maybe a beer. But yeah, let's start. So my name is Yuliia. I'm CEO and co-founder at Masthead Data, and what we do, we provide basically a 360 analytics on clients' data platform, anything about data anomalies, anything about pipeline failures, and anything about the FinOps part of your data platform. And we do that without ever touching clients' data and without no risks, no latency, real time, and no additional cost on infrastructure for our clients. Yeah. Sam, go ahead and introduce yourself.
My name is Sam. So I currently work at Vortex. We are a Google Cloud partner. So my main focus right now is to help customers implement BigQuery, various AI Gen AI use cases, how to connect, basically how to onboard to Google Cloud and stuff like that. And the way we met with Yuliia is that Yuliia gave me a great presentation about a year ago on Masthead, and I was immediately charmed with what they're doing and how what the product is and how well it's working. So that's how we connected. We stayed in touch, and this is how this whole partnership got basically rolling.
Yeah, sorry, I'm still on blackout. My mind is on blackout. Yeah, Sam, that's exciting. This is we actually get connected through client, and yeah, there's still something. It's good that we keep in touch. So let's move on. And the agenda for today, I'm gonna do the quick intro. What is BQML and AI? The problems you can solve with it. And I think one of the points is why you should look into BigQML. Of course, I'll explain what is basic setup needed, core concepts, and best practices to manage and optimize the cost. And then Sam will have a live demo how actually to do that. So I'm here for next 15 minutes. I'm going to be taking the stage, and Sam afterwards going to actually show you how to execute things. So let's move on. You know what? I was preparing this presentation, and this is something that struck me. And before jumping into the actual what is BQML, I want to talk about this headline by this is it Washington Journal or what was it? Wall Street Journal. Wall Street Journal. So companies are struggling to drive a return on AI, and it doesn't have to be that way. Well, Sam, I want to pick up your opinion on this. Why, do you see companies not driving value from AI? What is the state for your clients? Like, what do you see from as a consultant?
Yes, I think it depends case to case. Some companies, yes, are struggling. Some companies have the vision and are executing on the vision. Some companies are doing greatly. From what I see, the main struggle usually is that basically teams which are developing the AI models sometimes have to, for example, provision their own infrastructure and keep it running, which is something that they're not experts in. Maybe they have to ask a different team for help with managing the infrastructure, which maybe doesn't have time to do it. So Depends on the struggles. Yes, there are struggles which can be eliminated in some way or another. So yeah.
This is very interesting because how I feel about it is that teams were struggling to drive return on investment on their whole data infrastructure in before the AI kicked in. And now once AI been added, to one of the responsibilities and tools for data teams to, in their toolkit, basically. So they had this data platform, then there is the AI, which obviously costed extra, and they didn't have any return on investment, not like any, but tangible return on investment on their data infrastructure and data teams. Then there is an AI. So I think the case is, and why it's happening is mostly because of low understanding of data and how to utilize this across organizations. So data team can be aces, but the rest of organization is still, kind of dragging. And how to put it, to streamline it, I think we need to work on maturity of the entire organization. It's a bit of change management, but change of paradigm, not for data teams only, but for wider audience in order to leverage it better. I mean, this
Yes,
is my 2 cents.
yeah, I believe like some of the struggles, like before AI, data teams had to sell their data, basically the data product to the rest of the organization. Now, maybe with the rise of AI, they have to sell the AI models that they're creating, or basically which they're training. So it's, yes, before they had to sell data, now they have to sell the AI. I mean, it's the same basic stuff. You're still selling the same product because it's still data. But it's just another thing you have to sell basically to
Yeah.
the rest of the organization.
Yeah, we have this data sprinkled with AI.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's move on. First of all, just a basic overview. I want to introduce you to BQML, and what is a very easy to understand and why BQML stand out is it's because it allows you to use SQL. Users do not need to know Python frameworks, Java, or anything else. They just need to know SQL at, not very basic level, but, something in between. And in 10 minutes, they can build their models, train them, and also understand its performance by just leveraging SQL. Um, you can have, and it also takes you 10 minutes to run it on petabytes of data. It allows you to normalize data, again, just leveraging SQL, and have everything and provide everything super fast, without dealing with clusters, with provisioning, with talking with DevOps teams, and things like that. Um, yeah, do you have anything to add here, Sam?
Maybe just one thing, yeah. Like as you said, you can basically go from raw data to a model in 10 minutes, and basically that's something that I'm going to showcase at the end.
Yeah.
So it's not just a marketing term. It's really possible basically to prepare your data, train the model, everything in SQL within 10 minutes, and have the model ready and deployed for example, in Vertex AI, or do predictions. So it's really, right now, I think the BigQuery ML has taken very big strides, and recently as well, with introductions of some new features, and it's very exciting the direction that it's heading in. It's something that's not used as much by the teams, and I think it should be.
And in a way, it's a democratization of the SML capabilities to wider audience. Like, even if it's not something production ready, some users can leverage it, to run and use pre-built models for lifetime value assessment, churn assessment, or anything of that nature. Okay. Yeah. So another cool thing about BQML, it's super easy to start. What you need is basically to create a separate data set, and then just type in create model as a SQL statement. and you can pull the data from this data set to do whatever you need, because up there you're going to have pre-built models that you can leverage, and it's as easy as that, which is pretty insane compared to how it was before, with infrastructure, with all the frameworks, with accessing data, with data movement, building up pipelines, whatsoever. You can just go in your BigQuery, type create model, and that's it. The problems that I suggest are the easiest to focus on, and which is the bread and butter for BQML. Predictive analytics for large data set. Let's say you already have petabytes of data in your Google BigQuery. You don't have to move. This is the use case to leverage BQML, since it's already there. All your operational data, behavioral, user behavioral data, whatever, you can just test it. Add prediction to existing BI reports. This is funny because we had a client with this use case. So they had MRR calculation, which was done every night because they needed to collect data from all the payment system. But it's not just somebody paid. There is also refunds, cancellations, so on and so forth. So you cannot do that really in real time. It's too volatile. It should be done in at like at midnight. But their CEO wanted to have a live report in ML, which was funny, but he wanted to have that as gamification. They are kind of this geeky startup for the entire organization, and they used BQML to do that, which is pretty cool. I mean, it's something that made happy the organization to see that in Dynamics, where they leverage BQML. Let's say you have some big data set coming in, and you need just to have a quick score for this data. This is also could be a case. Marketing optimization and customer analytics, I think it's one of the most powerful use case, because inherently Google Cloud has all this access to behavioral data from GA4, from Google Ads. They have this connector from Facebook Ads, robust connectors from all the systems like CRM, Salesforce, whatever. So there is whole lots of marketing and customer behavioral data already in Google BigQuery. And it's basically their bread and butter to have these pre-built models to calculate lifetime value, churn, some difficult marketing models. And this is basically what they specialized in firsthand. And also, what is important to understand is that BQML designed for structural data. Like if you want to have some ML things leverage for visuals, video, or audio, you should, this is a case to Vortex, basically. So there are some little capabilities available at BQML as well. Sam, what do you think about it? Like, do you have something on your mind? What should be
Yes.
mentioned here?
Yes. Basically, when you mentioned that the marketing optimization, customer analytics, there are many, many solutions you can find on GitHub, for example, which are leveraging BigQuery ML. And for you, it's a very simple deploy to your BigQuery, either just copying the queries which are already present in the repository or running a command. And basically everything is done for you. And it's a very powerful tool. One tool that I, for example, am familiar with is, for example, Instant BQML, which focuses on getting insights from Google Analytics data. So it's very easy. You just connect your data, you deploy a simple model in your BQML, and you have insights from a GA4 data. And there are countless of models and ready-made solutions available online, which are basically built on top of BQML.
Oh yeah, that's absolutely true. And I can, further. I'll show you how many pre-built models BQML has. But the thing is that this is also could be the case for you to test things, and we did that with Masthead. So we work with time series data. And we pre-tested initially when we were doing the MVP, back 2 years ago or more. We pre-tested that with BQML just to understand which algorithms are working better for us. So it takes you from zero to hero in a very short time without provisioning anything, having your data already in BQ. What I want to emphasize, the greatest advantage comes from the fact that data is already in BQ. You don't need to move it. You avoid any complexity and latency as well. And you don't need to have any data science knowledges. You just need to understand and know SQL to move further. Like no Python frameworks, Java needed. Just SQL gets you started very fast. Moving on. So again, as I said, reduce any complexity, no data movement, easy to integrate. The use cases: prediction, classification, recommendation, anomaly detection. No frameworks, no Python, just SQL. No ETLs. Say if you have your data already in BQ, and reduction of the cost. I think we stopped to appreciate how scalable BQ is, because if we're even talking about Databricks or Snowflake, you need to ensure you have enough of clusters for that. Even if you want to spin their internal ML or AI capabilities, you need to provision infrastructure, and Google does it out of the box for you. I think this is, it's so easy to get to used to that, right? Do you see that from your customers? They start,
Oh yeah.
oh, the Snowflake going to be cheaper or whatever. But folks, you don't really understand what it takes for DevOps, to provision it and things like that. Yeah. As we said, this is a big democratization of ML in a case that data analysts, like BI engineers, can leverage it. And this is exactly what I emphasized at the beginning. We need to have more, like a wider range of organization to test these capabilities and get into it, to understand and to leverage them more. Because like we cannot, it's basically sit, crawl, walk, run. And now we give to everyone AI capabilities and expecting them to fly with it. Well, people just to need to understand what is the best resolution for specific tasks. um, and also not to like important to mention is that when you leverage BQML, you actually remain in the same governance frameworks and security, which is also important to understand that the things in data is being safe. And Sam, and the last part, because I know that you prepared the demo how to then to provision these machine learning models or upgrade it to Vertex. When you do these first steps of BQML and Google BigQuery, it's also easier integration step into Google Cloud AI capabilities.
Yes, and I think many businesses are taking BigQuery ML as a starting step, right? You start small, you start in BigQuery ML. When you're ready, then you have a full-on data science team. You promote the model to Vertex AI and manage it out of Vertex AI, right? So BigQuery ML is a great stepping stone into the world of AI and ML.
Yeah, and it's also a like a very low entrance for different level of professionals. So yeah, I'm gonna do the last few slides about what is needed to start with BQML. So first of all, the access requirements is the service account or your permission. Like you as a professional need to have permissions to create jobs. Model creation, models need to be able to get data, obviously, and update data. This is normally available via roles as data editor or BigQuery admin. Don't expect it as a viewer. Um, so billing and tech requirements. if you want to have that in a separate project, let's say you have your core project, you want to have that in a separate one, you need to ensure that there is a billing enabled. And the tricky part is that compute costs need to be on demand, Editions Enterprise or Editions Enterprise Pro. You cannot do BQML on Editions Standard. Did you know that, Sam?
I was aware of it, yes.
Yeah, funny, right?
Yeah.
Okay, technical requirements. Dataset location, the one that you copied to play with BQML, need to be in the same location as your training data. Please, if you have some query limits, check if there is query limits could be on your email or service account. BQML doesn't work with legacy SQL, and appropriate permissions if you schedule something with a service account, obviously. I want to show you how many pre-built models BQ have, and it could be supervised learning models, logistic regression, deep neural networks, unsupervised learnings, time series. This is exactly ARIMA, what we leveraged while we were doing tasks at Masthead. BQML, advanced techniques, model evaluation as well, which is really important. So lots of over 2 dozen of pre-built models. Yeah. And something I'm really interested, something I'm really focused on is the cost optimization. Because sometimes, we want people to innovate, but the innovation comes with cost. And it's okay, to miss something, but we also need to understand the basics. Please cluster your data. Please partition your data, especially when you want to leverage ML. Save intermediates results, create or replace table. Never use limit. Limit is actually parsing your entire data and gives you back the result that you limited to see. So it's not a great, it's not a great statement to use. Avoid select star. Set project level quotas. Yes, project level quotas. Also, you can set limits on service accounts and on your email as well. Schedule automatic model training during off-peak hours, but this is, it's more valid for editions. Like you can do that on demand as well, not to hit the 6-hour out of time error, but this is even more important if you use Editions Enterprise. Do the BQML dry run to understand the cost. Cache frequently used queries and views, same practices. And set some cloud monitoring for cost. It's pretty cheap. I don't remember. It's something like really cheap, but can save you a lot in case of something goes sideways. Sam, I'm almost done. I want to touch base on security things, but I guess, first of all, BQML is going to be the most secure thing you can leverage because you don't get the third party. Do you want to quickly cover this?
Yes, of course. So the biggest, probably the biggest selling point that you already mentioned is that your data is not leaving your BigQuery, right?
Yeah.
So it's stored in BigQuery, it's safe, it's encrypted, the transit, and at rest, and it stays that way. It's never leaving BigQuery if you're using BigQuery ML. Then, if you implement any security practices, for example, as you mentioned in here, COM level access, authorized use, etc., even if users start to train their models on this data is always has these security limitations in place. So if somebody does not have access to a column, they will not be able to train the model on that column, and they will not be able to utilize it. And the same basically applies to row-level security, to authorized views, and stuff like that, basically. Your data also, if you have a VPC perimeter setup, even if there is a breach, your data is safely stored within VPC. Nobody can access it in BigQuery. Then, since it's not leaving for any third-party service, it's staying safe within BigQuery.
What is important to understand, BigQ automatically propagates any security measures are set. So there is enough of, security measures except IAM role and permissions. This is, I think it deserves a separate webinar, but let's move on. Sam, are you ready to do a demo for us? How to, to get started with SQL and BigQML?
Yes, of course. So I started sharing my screen now.
Okay. Okay. It's okay. We can see a screen. Folks, can you see
make
Sam?
it bigger?
Yeah, try to make it bigger. And I'm asking if the audience can see the screen as well. Okay, no responses, yes, but I believe that is because of the latency. Oh, this is much better, Sam.
Yeah, sorry, I had it on a different resolution, so that's why it was kind of black box from the sides.
No worries. It's good.
All right, let me then start. So, as I basically promised at the beginning of the webinar, or as Yuliia mentioned, today I'm going to show you how to really train the model within 10 minutes. In BigQML, we'll basically go from raw data to train model to evaluating the model, all the way through deploying it to Vertex AI, where you can use the model for online predictions or for managing the model and stuff like that. So firstly, we are going to use a public data set. This is the New York taxi trips data set, which is available in BigQuery public data. This is real world data, so it's messy, it's high volume, it's something that businesses deal with daily. In our case, we first have to do some preparation of the data, get rid of the outliers, stuff we're not interested in, do some feature engineering. So, for example, in our case, we'll be extracting the hour and the day of the week. You can enrich the data with weather, for example, and stuff like that. In this case, I want to keep this simple. I don't want to overcomplicate stuff. If your business it does have this requirement, it's very much possible. You can just bring in the new table, join the data, etc. As any training goes, you have to split your data into training and test set or evaluation test. BigQuery can do this automatically. In this case, I decided to do this myself. So very easily, I'm just going to create an 80-20 split for training and test data. And we will use the training data to train the model and test data to evaluate the model, how it's behaving on unseen data. And now the fun thing begins. So I have prepared here the queries, which I'll actually run here, so we see how fast it really is. As you can imagine, these two queries, if I run them, they will not take much time. BigQuery is a very fast petabyte scale data warehouse, which allows you to run these in a matter of seconds. So when I want to train the model, it's very easy to use, as Yuliia mentioned, just to create model statement. I don't have to provision any infrastructure. I just have to instruct BigQuery what model to use, what are my input labels, which column I want to use, for example, for splitting the data, which is something which is optional. You can do it. You don't have to do it. And basically, I just need to run it. And if I run it, BigQuery will show me that it's starting to train the model. I'm going to make this bigger. If I train something different than a linear regression, which I'm doing here, we would see the loss for each iteration and the duration for each iteration. Since this is a simple intercept and slope fitting, basically, this is only taking one iteration. So we will not see any statistics here. But if you train something more more complicated, for example, the boosted tree regressors or something like that, you would see for each iteration its statistics. So my model was trained. It took 21 seconds to train my model. Again, no
Wow.
infrastructure needed, no nothing. And I already have the model created in BigQuery and it's ready to be queried. The way it works is that basically BigQuery treats this as a separate object. So if I go to my dataset near taxi trips, you can see here that I have here a model or models, basically a subsection where my model exists. I can see what are its statistics, what type of model it is, who created it. You can see all the description statistics, the evaluations, the schema of the model and stuff like that. So this is really a first-class object in BigQuery, same as any other table, as a view, as a materials view. This is really treated as a first-class object, which you can interact with and basically see any descriptive statistics of. And this basically propagates through all through all BigQuery ML models. So it does not matter if you choose linear regression, logistic regression, something more complicated. This basically is propagated through all of them. Now that my model is trained, the next step is evaluating whether the model is any good. So BigQuery offers you directly in BigQuery UI, offers you, or basically in SQL, a function to provide you with the statistics of the model. The way it works, you provide it with the evaluation data or the test data it hasn't seen, and it calculates what is the variance. Apologies. What is the variance? What is the R squared? What is the root mean squared error, etc. So it basically returns a very simple table with all the description metrics. So in our case, the R squared score is 0.92. The absolute error is 2. So basically, since we are predicting the fair amount for the taxi trips, meaning we are roughly $2 off of the actual real value, and we're explaining roughly 92% of the variance. But you may be asking, like, yes, you promised that you don't have to be a ML expert to basically know what these means, or basically to train the model and to understand whether it's any good. And you might be put off by these metrics, for example, if you don't understand what they mean, right?
Yeah.
So the magical thing about BigQuery ML is that it does not offer integration from BigQuery ML to Vertex AI only. It also offers integration from Vertex AI to BigQuery ML. So meaning you can query and you can connect to any models which live in Vertex AI, for example, Gemini. So very easily, I can create a connection, basically same as before. I created a model with the linear regression. Here, I will just basically create a connection and then use this connection to basically query Gemini. So I already created it because it takes a couple of seconds. So I'm not going to run it. But at the touch, with a simple SQL query, I have Gemini fully available in BigQuery, and I can send prompts to it.
Can you show? Sorry, Sam. Can you please show the statement how you connect that with Gemini? Because it's just too fast.
Yes. So basically, it's two-way steps. Basically, first you have to create a connection. The way you do it is you click here on Add Data, and you type Vertex AI.
Okay. Yeah.
Basically, you just create a connection, name it, and click Cancel. Click Create. And then it gives you, like here, if I'll go to external connections, you can see here that I have a bunch of connections here. So you basically just take the ID of the connection that you created, and you basically just specify the endpoint of the model, right? So in my case, I'm using the Gemini model, meaning that that has the endpoint of Gemini 2.0/001. If you were using any other model, there is a specification of hosted models on Vertex AI. So basically, you just need to look into the documentation, find what is the endpoint of the LLM in Vertex AI, and basically specify it here in BigQuery.
Okay. And what it gets us? Yeah. So we
Sorry.
did this what it gets us. Like we did this connection. So we have a ML model. Now we connected it with Gemini. So what is the result?
The result is that basically you can send anything to Gemini. So I had these evaluation metrics which I showed you. I don't know what they mean. For example, I
Okay.
can very easily send them to Gemini, right? I specify here, for example, a very simple prompt that I have these evaluation metrics. Please evaluate whether these metrics, what is their meaning, whether the model is good, whether I need to retrain the model. And if I run this, basically what happens is that these metrics are sent to Gemini, basically
Yeah.
using my endpoint, using the connection, and Gemini comes back with the answer. So basically it gives me, I specify that I want to return two columns, which is the retrain model and the scores evaluation. And basically Gemini told me that I don't need to retrain the model. And here is the meaning of these metrics. The R2 score is 0.96, blah, blah. It explains the variance very well, stuff like that. So basically at the touch of your fingers, you can send anything from BigQuery to Vertex AI and back with, it can be a Gemini model, it can be a Claude model, it can be anything which is stored in Vertex AI. It doesn't have to be an LLM. But I think it's very magical that at touch of your fingers, you have the option to basically have the capability of Gemini or any other LM right in BigQuery and basically interpret any results that you have.
The case is we need like I'm right now I put in my product manager hat on. It's basically the way the people interact and what is doing Google BigQuery, letting people to access all of these capabilities directly in console is a very interesting mode. You know,
Yes.
it
I've
looks incredible. Yeah.
Yes, I've used this, for example, for data cleaning. You have user input, which, for example, I don't know, users input the countries, and
Oh,
sometimes they write Czech Republic, sometimes they write Czechia, sometimes they do a typo.
yeah.
Very easily, you can send this to Gemini and say, "Hey, do a
Normalization,
clean this."
basically.
Yes, exactly. Clean this data for me, please. And you don't have to do any complicated regex statements or anything like that.
That's fantastic. Sam, I think you prepared some resources to share with the audience. Folks, please signal us if you are still with us, because that was something really, saturated in a 10 minutes. Like Sam, you did a lot. Like you trained the model, you evaluated it, and then asked Gemini how good was the evaluation and all of that in BQ console, which is pretty impressive. Do you want to return to the slides so we can wrap it up and answer some last questions if somebody
Yes,
has?
maybe just one more thing. I also want to
Oh,
show that you can to take this model and basically put it to Vertex AI without any complications. So if basically if I train this model, so basically I created a BigQuery. You can then query this model with, for example, Python and BigQuery as well. And very easily you can basically take this model and with a Python command you can basically deploy it to Vertex AI. And the way it works is that BigQuery creates a connection between the BigQuery model and the Vertex AI model. And right now, if I'll basically go to my Vertex AI now and I refresh the page, you'll see that I have here my taxi fare model, and very easily I can, for example, deploy it, test it, do the prediction. So I have the full capability of Vertex AI from my BigQuery model, for the model that I trained in BigQuery in Vertex, and I can do anything I want with it. So
Sam Q
that's
has
it.
an interesting question. He asked, can we have it as a SQL file?
The model itself, you cannot have it as a SQL file. What you can do, you can export the model as a TensorFlow object, for example, which is TensorFlow is a Google AI ML library. So basically, if you there is a separate statement, you can basically export it to a bucket. And then you can, for example, take that exported model, you can deploy it to a Cloud Run, to a Docker container, whatever, and basically that can do the predictions. Or you can deploy it to Vertex AI. So BigQuery ML doesn't box you in. You can basically do with that model as you please.
And the other question Kier has is, can we train model based on the data in GCS bucket?
Yes, you can. It is possible. Of course, there are some caveats there. Typical limitations of BigQuery. If you have data in GCS, it's not as fast as if it's native, as if it's a native BigQuery object, right? But yes, BigQuery does not limit you in this. For example, I even have here like I created I have here, for example, pictures in GCS bucket of a car and a dress. And basically, I created just an object table, which looks like this. This is something which is supported by Dataplex and BigLake. And very easily, you can basically take these and, for example, send it to BigQuery. So here I'm basically asking for what is the object in the image, what is its color. And basically Gemini can tell me, hey, it's a car, if the color is green, or it's dress and blue and black. So it is basically the capabilities of training the model for unstructured data, for Google Cloud Storage data is there as well. Plus, yes, you can take the bucket data from bucket and send them to existing model in Vertex AI, for example.
But it's still, despite the data is not in BigQuery, but in GCS bucket, it's still easier than to leverage data flow for ML or the data proc. It's much more easier. Okay, let's get back to the presentation. Have last two slides with resources. Yeah, it's supposed to be here. Yeah, let me here presentation. Here's our presentation, and sorry, it's just so the documentation and learning resources. I don't know, it doesn't really work here as a slides, but if you'd like to know, we can share these resources with you. Contact me on LinkedIn or Sam. And yeah, please shoot the questions if you have in chat. We're wrapping up, happy to answer them. And the last one, but not the least, I'm trying to take our pictures away. We are going to be at Google Cloud Summit in Prague end of May. Scan the code. Let's get connected. We're happy to explain to you in depth Vertex AI, BQML. I'm happy to chat about data platform building, measuring, and things like that. We will be there and with all of our teams, happy to chat with you. Last minute, if someone has questions. Otherwise, Sam, that was really interesting. I'm quite impressed as well.
Yes, and I mean, if you're interested in learning more about this, just feel free to connect with me as well. Like these are the use cases that we basically do daily, and we see customers do. So it's a really great thing which you're doing with BigQuery ML, and I think it's if you do it right, it's very exciting. I see here one more question from Kirill. If I have data in some PostgreSQL outside of GCP, is it possible to use the source model for training without moving to BigQ or GCS? I'm going to say no. I think the limitation of BigQuery ML is that the data has to be at least in GCP. So if it's outside of GCP completely in PostgreSQL, I don't think BigQuery is going to allow that without moving the data to at least a cloud storage bucket.
Here, they want you to get your data in BigQ. This is the only way. Fortunately, unfortunately. But the good thing, what I can say from the cost perspective, I remember they introduced BigQML 6 or 8 years, maybe 6 years ago. Well, it's been for a while there, but previously it felt like, one of those machines that you have in Vegas, like how do you say, like one hand robber or whoever, like you just spin it and you have no money. This has felt like this previously back 6 years ago. Right now it's much more democratized, like it's much more lean and not that scary on the cost side of things. Yeah. This is certainly a big moment happening. Okay, folks, here we're glad. Thank you so much for being so engaging with us and asking all your questions. Certainly webinar wouldn't be as good without you. But yeah, Sam, do you have any fireword thoughts? I don't know.
Fun thoughts. Just go and explore, I guess. Really,
Yeah.
like as Yuliia said, like it's not as expensive as it used to be, and there are some very great features in BigQuery ML, and it unlocks so much use cases that you can do directly, very data sets
Yeah.
basically.
And if you need help, please feel free to reach out to us on LinkedIn. And
Absolutely.
yeah, hoping to see you at Google Cloud Summit. Raul, thank you so much for joining. Thank you, folks. Have a good one.
Thank you very much. Have a good day. Bye bye.
Bye.